Welcome to episode 768 of Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I am doing an extra experiences show, sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and ways to listen to the show and ways to support the show at the website. And that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. As I always say, support is never expected, but always appreciated. And now, if you'd like to spread the word as well about the show, and have the extra money at any time to do so, you can get shirts, t-shirts, or sweatshirts with different designs on them promoting the show to get the word out about them. So, please check out all the links in every episode description for all the friends of the show that have helped us so much over the years. Of course, Jen, the Arcane Observer, who is usually here on Saturdays but could not make it tonight. So that is no problem. That happens, and I know I've canceled a few shows myself here and there. So we will do the Shadow Figure show next Saturday. Is the plan as of now, and go from there. But also Michael Strange of the Trouble Minds radio show and network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, whenever I have other guests, I try to share their links as well when they have their own projects to work on. So, please check out those episode descriptions for all those links as they are available. So, this is going to just be an extra experiences show. I figure I will read through 8 of these true stories I have saved up, and this one will not be timed, so it'll get done when it is done. And so let me get to the file here, and we will begin. Thank you all for being here and listening in, and always good to be here and to have people listening in. So, and all right. Let me find this here where I'm starting. I need to find it. See if there's I have an issue with Microsoft Word, where lately when I open it, it opens at 80% zoom, and I need it at 100% zoom. So anyway, that's better. Okay. This one says, my first memory is of my 3rd birthday party, where I asked my mom to have Santa get me a pony and received one named Topaz. I remember a Santa in Hawaiian shirt and shorts bringing me the pony, and the reactions of the other kids. I specifically remember my grandma's face with pure happiness in her eyes, and her reaction of holding her hands together and tilting her head in admiration. I shared this I shared this memory with my mom years later, and my mom gave me a confused look and said that my grandma had passed away shortly after my first birthday, and after my 3rd birthday, not after my 3rd birthday. I was shocked. I know now that our loved ones will always be there, even if they're not physically present. And that's where that one ends. That is amazing. First of all, to have a memory of that's that clear from that far back. I know some people claim that they have a lot of memories of their first few years of life, and I think I only have one, and it's very vague. So that to begin with is amazing. But then to have this figure, this image in their mind of their grandma, and them knowing it was their grandma, and seeing it in this memory, seeing them in this memory, and then finding out that they had passed 2 years earlier. That is amazing. I wonder, again, I mean, just going with the paranormal possibility here, that's amazing if that's the case, if it was really, it was really the apparition of the grandmother. And I feel like if the person remembered their first birthday, they would have said so. Not only that, obviously they didn't get any kind of a pony, as they mentioned, on their first birthday. So it seems like a pretty special marker as far as birthdays go to get something like that, I would imagine. So you'd be more likely to remember that one. And so yeah, that's really an amazing account of an experience there that doesn't make sense chronologically, but somehow it still happened. It still happened. And yeah, seems like it's possible that it was the grandmother that was there for the party. And was just happy to see the kid at the time. I was a kid. So happy. So I always wonder about that too, and when it comes to these kinds of experiences people have, and I always wonder if other people in the location at the time somehow felt like they couldn't stand in this one spot for whatever reason, even if they didn't see anyone there. And if other people in these situations that don't see anything still sense something there, but they just write it off as whatever they want to write it off as. And they've actually had part of the experience too, but just either don't realize it or don't want to think about it. But just a side note there to that true story. So let's move on to the next one here. This one said, a coworker and I were the only two people in our hospital department early in the morning. Suddenly, we heard a lady humming loudly behind us. But when we checked the area, we found no one else was there. This experience was unusual and had never happened to us before. The coworker had previously experienced strange things as well, including hearing lockers opening with when no one was there. The experience was cool and kind of spooky, and that's where that one ends. Pretty short, but still pretty neat. I wonder if it was some spirit moving through the area and just not realizing they would be heard, just humming. It's always possible it could have been a residual thing too, I guess. Or someone just passing through. I do think that does happen at times as well, where on some other level of reality, someone is just passing through an area and don't even realize necessarily what they're passing through. But somehow there's this crossover, this connection between these two areas, these two other levels of reality and the same area, and then you get weird experiences like that. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of experiences like that. Let's see. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, I grew up hearing stories about cryptids and paranormal activity, but always thought they were nonsense. Until my recent experience. On Saturday night, I was coyote hunting in a small rural part of Oklahoma around midnight. While playing around with my flashlight, I saw a strange, pale, gray creature with glowing eyes around 250 to 300 yards away. The creature was standing still with an unnatural posture and didn't move or make any noise. At first, I thought it might be a coyote, but it didn't look like any animal I had seen before. After focusing my scope on the creature, I saw a second one standing nearby with the same characteristics. I felt a sense of unease and confusion, but not fear or danger. I left the area immediately and haven't returned since. After researching, I found descriptions of crawlers that matched my experience. I am still shaken and can't stop thinking about the encounter. What do you all think I saw? Has anyone else had a similar experience? And that's where that one ends. I've heard a lot of accounts like that of just seeing these pale and or gray figures in nature in different places. And sometimes they're just watching the person that's watching them. Other times they're moving around. I don't know what they are, but there's just so many accounts of similar things. So really amazing that there is just so much of that out there. And in all different parts of the country too. That's from what I remember anyway. So yeah, I don't know what they saw, but it makes me wonder. I mean, if they saw one but then didn't see the other one right away, was the other one there the whole time, or did it just appear there? And of course, if that's the case, then how many others were there? Others that the writer didn't see? I don't know, but I don't blame them for not wanting to go back to that area. So that's an amazing experience there. Let me move on to the next one here in a moment. And we'll get to that. We might not get through 8 stories this time because I thought it'd be good to do extra, but we're already we've already gone through 3 and we're already doing good on time here. But we'll see. We'll do at least 6. This one says, I am a nurse with a background in psychiatry and long-term care, and consider myself an atheist. I had a patient who was hallucinating and seeing her deceased husband, among other things, before she passed away. 2 floors up, there was another patient who was ill with what was thought to be the flu, and was being treated in isolation. He died unexpectedly in the early morning hours. Shortly after this patient's death, the hallucinating patient, the other one, woke up screaming and told the other nurse, "There's a large man here. He doesn't know why, and he doesn't want to leave. He's throwing things at the wall." The patient was hysterical and needed medication to calm down. The next day, she passed away as well. Is it possible that the patient may have been so close to death that she was able to experience the confusion and disorientation of the other patient who had died earlier, possibly due to the veil between life and death being lifted? and that's where that one ends. I'd say it's possible. I've heard accounts of people being able to sense spirits around them when they are passing, when they're close to passing over, to dying, and of course, a lot of times it's written off as hallucinations. I don't doubt that that can be the case at times, but also I don't doubt that there can be times where it is really the souls or spirits of others that have come to help the person transition as well. So I think figuring out what the difference is not something I never feel comfortable trying to do, but there's plenty of accounts of that. So I definitely can't write any of that off. And I have my great grandmother. I heard an account from my grandma on my mom's side, who said that my great grandma, before she passed, she claimed to see all of her sisters that had passed before visiting her, and just visiting her, not doing anything bad, not doing anything malicious, just there for her, and then they faded away, and then eventually she passed. So I don't doubt that's possible. So yeah, I think there can be a fine line there between the what's in our own minds and what's not. And I'm, like I said, I'm not qualified, I don't think, to judge what's what, but I do think it's important to consider the possibility that it could be paranormal, as well as just as much as it could be anything else as well. Moving on to the next one here. Lost my spot. And so, okay, here we are. This one says, my cousin and I visited the Gettysburg National Cemetery in May of last year. We are both sensitive to the paranormal in our own ways. As we walked through the cemetery, we felt a heavy energy until we reached the New York memorial or section, where the energy suddenly stopped. We are both from New York, which made the sudden change in energy feel unusual. On our way out of the cemetery, we accidentally ended up near the New York monument, which was not our intended route. It felt as if the New York soldiers were saying hello to us. This was my third visit to Gettysburg, but I had never experienced a distinct feeling of something or someone saying hello to me before this visit. And that's where that one ends. I sort of like that one in a way, because it's not as dramatic as some reports I've heard from Gettysburg, and that in no way do I mean that as I don't believe the other reports I've heard of get there of there in the area. It's just that it's more subtle, and I do think that is a valid thing, and we should pay attention to those feelings of those kinds of subtle messages or subtle energies that we can pick up on at times, and pay attention to that, and then the significance of making it to the one area that was where the soldiers from New York were buried, and then accidentally or maybe being led to the monument for those soldiers as well. Seems like a possibility. So, but just in case anyone hasn't heard, I've heard of a lot of accounts of people being in the area of Gettysburg and hearing sounds that of sounds of soldiers, sounds of cannon fire, just all kinds of sounds, and not being able to trace them to live events that happened there, and then having the things sound different between the any kind of reenactments or current use of objects that are similar to what was used at the time for cannon fire or whatever else. Having those modern sounds be different from the other sounds that they hear there, whether it's the direction that they come from or just the quality of the sound in general. I've heard of all different accounts of people having experiences there. Other battlefields as well, but I've heard a lot about Gettysburg. It may be one of the most famous ones in terms of paranormal activity, as far as what I've heard overall. So let's get on to the next one here. Need to scroll down. Okay. This one says, I have only had paranormal experiences involving elderly people. When I was between 4 to 11 years old, I felt like something was watching me whenever I was in my brother's room. The feeling was not malicious, but it still freaked me out as a kid. This room often felt colder than the rest of the house. After moving out of the house, my dad mentioned that an elderly man had passed away in the house around 10 to 15 years before we moved in. I had a recurring experience about 2 to 3 years ago where I would see someone out of the corner of my eye, usually on a bus. When I looked directly at the person, there would be no one there. I thought I was seeing an older person based on their clothing, such as a flat cap. And that's where that one ends. I wonder if, too, there was just, they were maybe picking up on more information or energy than they realized, even if it wasn't visual. Because that seems like a pretty specific thing to say about their experiences there. So I don't know for sure, but I think sometimes we do pick up on things that that are not visual, but we still get messages or senses or whatever, and can figure these things out, even if there's no other evidence of them being the case. So, so since I usually do go longer for these Saturday shows, we will read through 2 more true stories here. And then that'll be it for this episode. So let me find where. Okay, there I am. This one says, this happened on a plane, a long-haul flight, many years ago, when I was a cabin crew member. I had just finished my crew rest and was heading back to work, being the last one to leave the crew bunk. The bunk area was silent, with only the hum of the plane audible, and all other bunks had their curtains drawn open, making the space feel still. As I climbed the steep and narrow staircase to the cabin, I heard the unmistakable sound of curtains being drawn, which was loud enough to break the silence. I froze as the sound was inexplicable, given that I was the only person in the crew bunk, with only one way in or out. I did not dare to look back. My heart was racing, and I continued on to the cabin. This left me with a lasting sense of unease and fear, and even thinking about it today still gives me chills and makes my hair stand on end. And that's the end of that one. I do wonder if they would have looked back, if they would have seen the curtains closed. I wonder if it was a residual sound. It seems like a pretty specific sound, especially given the settings of some kind of a, I don't know if it's a military, but some kind of plane like that that's being used for very specific things. I don't know. But that seems possible. That it could have been residual. I'd also wonder if anyone else there that ever flew on that plane ever had any other experiences there. But it's really hard to know for sure without talking to the people there, and that's not likely to happen because of the stigma and everything associated with all these things that we talk about in these shows. So we'll do one more here, and then we'll call it for this episode. This one says, I was 22 years old and spent my last semester of college living with my great aunt in the early 1990s. I had gone through a bad breakup, the previous semester, and my great aunt offered me a place to stay. She lived alone in the house that was originally my great-grandparents', and I was given my great-grandparents' bedroom to stay in. One morning, I woke up early, just as dawn was breaking, and saw my great-grandfather's apparition in the doorway. It looked exactly as I remembered him, my great-grandfather, from when I was a young teenager, wearing a charcoal gray sweater over his work shirt and slacks. I was not scared or alarmed by the experience, but rather found it peaceful and calming. This was the only paranormal experience I have ever had, and it has stayed with me to this day, even as I am now in my 50s. I told my great aunt about the experience later that day, and she seemed to be disappointed it had never happened to her. And that's where that one ends. I'm always curious about these homes that go through just multiple generations of people, and it doesn't surprise me that there was a sighting there of one family member by another. And I do wonder about that. Why do things happen to certain family members but not to others? I have no idea. If it's a sensitivity thing, if it's a sort of more of like a message to where the writer of that article, for whatever reason, needed to see that apparition, but their great aunt didn't. At least not as far as maybe the great grandfather was concerned. I don't know, but that seems possible as well. It's impossible to know, and but I totally understand that feeling of hearing about an experience and sort of when it comes to a loved one that was really close, of wanting to have that experience as well. But that doesn't always happen, and we have no idea how or why. Not for sure, anyway. As I always say, I don't really know anything. All I can do is compare patterns here and there, and and go from there. So I know this is a little bit of a shorter Saturday show than usual, but we did go a little bit longer than the usual shorter show, so sort of a compromise here. Just a update on the trick-or-treat shows. I was doing them once a month, but as of this week, I am doing them once a week now. So you can always hear those live if you join the Discord server. And you can find the links to that in my social media posts to join the server. And then if you join the Patreon page at any paid membership level there, even if it's only for $1 a month, you can also hear the recordings of those trick or treat shows there. So if you like to support the show and don't want to spend a lot of money, but you still want to help, that is a good, inexpensive way to do that if you are able and would like to do so. But support is never expected, but always appreciated. And again, for that support, that is what you get. You get extra episodes of the show. And yeah, I think that's all I have for this episode. Thank you all for being here and listening in. And I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.